Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Council Chambers on this beautiful day of February the 5th. Wow, can you imagine February the 5th? Who would have thought that 1 month of 2024 is already gone? It seems just like yesterday when we were celebrating the first night down in celebrations at Heritage Park. Right. Well, welcome to today's Governance Priorities meeting. There is agenda before you. Administration, anything to add?
Through your worship, yes, we will be adding an additional item under business items, and it will be pertaining the water system interruption update.
Okay, thank you. And members of council will add that as 6.1, and then we'll move the current 6.1 to 6.2. With that, I will call question. All in favor of the agenda as amended? Oh, sorry. I did actually ask for a mover of that. Deputy Mayor, if I can have that motion, please.
Yes, thank you. That the February 5th, 2024 Governance and Priorities Committee meeting agenda is adopted as amended.
Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? Okay, thank you. And prior to us continuing with our agenda, this is the time in governance and priorities that I like to relinquish the chair to the Deputy Mayor. This gives the Deputy Mayor the opportunity to chair the meeting and allows me to mentor our council group so that there is always that ability of a council member to chair our council meetings and other meetings that we attend. So Deputy Mayor, I relinquish the chair to you.
And thank you, Mayor Choi, for the opportunity to chair, even if it is a fairly light agenda. I see we did get to add one extra thing there. So just moving on to public input session. This is the time we allow our members of the public to speak to council about anything that is not on the current agenda. Administration, has anyone registered to speak?
Through you, Deputy Mayor, no one has registered.
Okay, is there anyone in council that would like to speak to council about anything not on the agenda? Not seeing anyone, we'll proceed. Presentations and delegations. There are no presentations or delegations on the agenda this evening, so we'll move on to the adoption of the committee meeting minutes. Councillor Hansard. Can you make the motion, please?
Mr. Deputy Mayor, I move that December 4, I think we're a motion behind. That December 4, 2023 Governance and Priorities Committee meeting minutes be approved as presented.
Thank you, Councillor Hansard. Rest of council, you've had an opportunity to review the committee meeting minutes. Are there any errors, omissions, or corrections? Seeing none, I will call for the question. All in favor? And that's carried. Business items. We have two business items this evening. We'll begin with the business item water system interruption update. Administration, please proceed.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, rest of council. Last week I was acting Director of Emergency Management, so it's my privilege to give a slight update of some of the events that occurred last week. So on January 29th, an electrical incident occurred at the E.L. Smith Water Treatment Plant in Edmonton, which impacted their water delivery system. EPCOR implemented a water ban for their customers within the city of Edmonton. A level B restriction was quickly upgraded to a level C request. The Capital Region Parkland Water Service Commission did not request any additional actions from its members. Town of Stony Plain asked our residents to reduce and conserve water. January 30th, a partial activation of the Town of Stony Plain Emergency Coordination Center was done to streamline our operations and communications. The operations and planning sections as well as communications were stood up at this time. No other sections were required. Some basic changes to our municipal operations just to reduce our water usage was no washing of vehicles, no servicing of pumps, lines, which would cause a lot of loss of water, no water for fire training, and little things like reduction of ice flooding at the Glen Hall Arena, just to try to conserve our water on our end as well. A local ban was not enacted, but water level trigger points in our reservoir were identified and closely monitored. Further restrictions would have been elevated to the next step if required. On January 31st, non-essential high water users were identified around the town, and site visits were conducted. So this was mostly our car washes. Most of them on our visits were already implementing some sort of reduction steps, and whether they were reducing hours, closing bays, modifying their systems, it was all voluntary. No businesses were asked to close by the town. EPCOR reduced their fill rates, but in no time did our water reservoirs fall below normal operating levels. The levels were closely monitored by the operations section chief and were communicated regularly through the appropriate channels. And then on February 2nd, EPCOR announced the repairs were completed and the systems were being brought back up to normal. Edmonton reservoirs would be filled over the next few days, and operations continued to monitor reservoir levels and our consumptions throughout the weekend. No issues were noted. Through this time, there was lots of communication to our residents and our businesses, and when everything returned to normal, that was broadcast as well. We used the opportunity to stand up the ECC as part of, an operational test and part of our training as well. We're doing some exercises throughout this year, and we felt this was a good time to, not only do actual work in the ECC, but also use it for training as when things leveled out, which we did. Over a dozen staff members were brought through the ECC for some familiarization and training as the incident was winding down. So that's sorry, and there will be an internal action review just on the operation that's going to be conducted later this week. So that's all the update I have, and willing to have any questions.
Thank you, Administration. Members of Council, you've had an opportunity to read and review the committee. Sorry, we're at the wrong spot. Any questions for clarity and understanding on the presentation? Councillor Plechko?
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you, Chief Misto, for the information today. It's greatly appreciated. I'm just wondering if you could speak to the communication that was put out to the community and how that was received and what we learned from that.
Deputy Mayor, through to Councillor Plechko. So the communications department was very busy sending out. We were doing at least 2 or 3 updates a day. Anytime any more information was given, it was passed out to our residents. Communication I haven't heard too much negativity on it. Everybody was, on board with the program. The face-to-face visits that we did it was pretty remarkable, actually, the amount of input that people were already doing without being asked. It was kind of pretty cool to see our businesses get out ahead of it before we actually came asking. They were all doing some sort of reduction strategy. As far as from the rest of the community, there was a few calls in, asking why car washes were open and stuff like that, but that's about the extent of the information I have.
If I could, Deputy Mayor, just elaborate a little bit. So what I'm looking for more specifically is you talk about the communication. How did we do that communication? How were the residents communicated to, and how did that go comparative to past experience?
Deputy Mayor, through to Councillor Plechko. It was the normal social media channels, the town website. As far as the reach and on that, I do not have those numbers, but I'm sure communications would have the stats. They'd be able to get something at a later date.
That would be great.
It was the typical process that we would normally use.
I'll refer to Facebook a number of times. I've seen people really on Facebook wondering what was going on, how long it was going to stay in place for. So my question is related to how well did we communicate that to the community? What avenues and what can we do better going forward so that we would see less of that on Facebook, I guess?
Yeah, certainly, Mr. Deputy Mayor, through to Councillor Plechko, I think that's one of the reasons or some of the rationale as to why we chose to activate and then to monitor. And then, as I think the fire chief mentioned, have those sort of internal reviews and what worked, what didn't, what else was being communicated and by whom, and how did we fit into that or not, and what, in what manner of, improvement can be made. And I think that's part of what we'll look to do. I know certainly, Mr. Deputy Mayor too, as I kind of monitored some of our communications, and then what else was available out there. Again, there was stuff on, mainstream TV media, mainstream radio going on. This was a much bigger, incident than just certainly the town of Stony Plain. And having said that, again, we, like anything else, what did we learn? What could we do differently? What did we do well? What was well received? What wasn't? All of that will be some of those questions we ask ourselves, and in an effort to be better next time around.
Thank you, Administration. I'm sure we'll get a pretty good breakdown in the next quarterly report too on those social media numbers. Mayor Choi?
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Just a question for just understanding. I think the presenter mentioned one of the higher use water users, which was car washes, where they said they already had implemented cost-saving measures such as shortening their hours, closing certain bays, the automatic car washes, etc. But there's no mention about the other high water users, such as water resellers, hotels, and restaurants. Can the chief provide some input on that, please?
Deputy Mayor through to Mayor Choi. In the non-essential high water users, the bulk water station was included in that. I did not include that when I said car washes, but they were, we had a site visit to them as well. And they actually took steps. They were going to be limiting, they weren't going to be doing any rink flooding. You couldn't get your hot tub filled. Your swimming pool, that kind of stuff. And they were going to try to pull water from the Devon water facility as much as they could, rather than pulling from Stony. So, as far as the other users, we did not. That would have been on the next phase. We didn't really go to the hotels. We had a list generated, internal list of the top 20, and the hotels weren't on that top 20.
Thank you. Councillor Laurie?
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. And, I'll just start with a general comment. And yeah, I felt that the communications that were out there were about the best we could see. I know we deployed our roadside signs. We had it on our digital billboards. It made the local news. It was on the radio. And I think throughout it, referring people to EPCOR's website was a very good decision, because the information on EPCOR's website was very thorough. And all the questions essentially were being answered by EPCOR. I think it wasn't the municipalities. We did not have the answers as to when is this going to be back online? How long is this going to last? EPCOR, I think, was very forward with the nature of the repairs and their intended timelines. And I know they were likely a little bit cautious in that, especially the way they were, I think they were originally saying by the 4th, I think, was their intended deadline for repairs. So I think the communications on that were quite well done, and based on what I've seen from other communities, it's similar. What I will ask is, we see, in the press conference, they spoke to 100 million liters of water. That was the reduction that they saw overall across the system. Do we have any more localized numbers for Stony Plain? Do we understand what reduction we actually saw here during that time frame?
Through Deputy Mayor to Councillor Laurie, I can maybe start the answer and maybe throw it to the fire chief if he has any additional comments. We did monitor as part of this, as part of the ECC. As the chief mentioned, there was an operationals team that was deployed and that stood up as it were. The operations team closely monitored our, I guess, the town's reservoir levels. We established some benchmarks for normal operating levels depending on the time of day. We were monitoring those 3 times a day. We didn't see any major fluctuations. Now, there were some lag indicators, we were monitoring total usage. Generally, they were within the normal range of what we would expect on a day-to-day draw. As we go through and review this, we might have some more curated numbers to understand the direct impacts. At this time, we were monitoring just general reservoir levels as the incident went on until we heard back from EPCOR. That's to the best of my knowledge, that's the information that we had during the ECC's staging. I'll maybe refer to the chief if he has any different information.
Deputy Mayor, through to Councilor Laurie. Yeah, the overall reduction was minimal. I knew that question was coming tonight, so I asked, and the overall reduction from the town was very minimal, even with the reduction efforts. But that was kind of the story across the whole region. The reduction that you mentioned was partial to the 5% pressure reduction overall. That was kind of what they were anticipating that was from.
Excellent, thank you. So, if I may, further on to that. So with that, it brings forward the question of the capacity of our reservoirs. You know, in this instance, they were able to get 2 of the pumps back online pretty quickly. So we at least did see some refilling of our reservoirs, although lower pressure, not as much volume as normal anticipated. But, you know, again, what I'm hearing is not necessarily what I wasn't anticipated hearing. I do feel that maybe the reduction efforts weren't as large as they could have been. So my question comes in then. What happens if there was no fill line? So if their pumps went completely offline and we had no fill line, what is the current capacity of our reservoirs versus our regular usage? How many days of on-hand supply would we have, even if we went to, you know, water demand C as we did in this instance?
Through your worship, or through Deputy Mayor, pardon me, to Councillor Laurie, the total, off the top of my head, just trying to remember the total volumes. Pardon me, I'm just trying to arrange my numbers here. There's about 12,000 cubic meters of storage, if I remember correctly, within the Meridian, and there's about 4,000 or so, give or take, within the High Park Reservoir. Generally, the town, on our normal usage, will use about, looking at the fire chief here,
Roughly 3,500 to 4,000 cubic meters per day.
yeah. So if we use between 3 and 4,000, pardon me, 3 to 4,000 cubic meters, pardon me, that roughly translates to about 3 to 4 days of normal usage. Of course, there are certain considerations for fire flows and water for any fire capacity, which is information that we worked out at the ECC where those levels may be, which was also a catalyst for us discussing the level monitoring and when we might activate any sort of additional triggers for decision making. Ultimately, the water levels did remain normal during the event. We were in constant communication with the Capital Region Parkland Water Service Commission, the Regional Water Customer Group, as well as EPCOR and their operations center was part of it. So we were making sure that we were keeping the information flow through the process as much as possible.
Do you have any further questions?
Yeah, so then further on that, you know, I'll lump these into one question just so we have it. So I'm wondering, number one, we do know that we have some upcoming work on the Meridian Reservoir happening. I'm just wondering if any of that work also involves increasing capacity and when our next planned increase in capacity is as per our capital planning and is required as per estimates. And then also if you could speak to what potential redundancies we do have in place should we actually run into a scenario where our fill line is compromised.
Through Deputy Mayor to Councillor Laurie, taking your question into the pieces there. First question is with regards to the High Park fill line that we're working with the Water Commission on. That is, pardon me, that is a capital project identified with the Capital Region Parkland Water Services Commission right now. The latest updates I have is it is moving along. There are some the designs are being finalized and it is anticipated to be installed in the short term. I don't have exact dates right now, but that is something that is being completed and moved forward that will provide water water security and connection to High Park as well as Meridian. As you pointed out, the Meridian is currently the main fill point within the town, so there will be 2 locations with the fill points. To your second question, with regards to an emergency plan or issues with the fill line, this instance certainly highlighted that the water supply coming from EPCOR is something that we had to maintain good communication with. As of any direct plans, certainly we assess the situation in an emergency management situation. We assess all information that comes out during that time. So is there a distinct plan for that particular event? It would have to be something that we would manage as we assess the information comes through on the incident itself. Certainly, our teams are always prepared to work through the problem and make sure that water security remains for the town as it comes in.
And no, so the only part that I think was missed was just in regards to capacity. So currently, we've got 16,000 cubic meters in the town. I'm just wondering, when is our next planned increase in capacity as per our capital plan, and when is the predicted next requirement based on growth estimates?
Through Deputy Mayor to Councillor Laurie, pardon my omission on that last question. There are rehabilitations being planned for Meridian right now, which will help maintain the current capacity. There is no expansion plan at that reservoir at this time, and neither at High Park. There is a future planned reservoir in the long-term water and sanitary master plan. It is not in the 10-year capital plan at this time. It is further out based off growth projections. It would be quite a while before a new facility comes out. But it is identified that there will be a future location in I believe, the northwest of the town's borders right now.
Thank you, administration. You have any further? No? Seeing any other questions? Councillor Hansard?
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Through to Chief Mistel. Am I correct, there were no fires to be fought during that time period?
We canceled all our scheduled
You
fires.
canceled
so
all your
scheduled
scheduled-
emergencies were canceled, so.
I'm so glad I got that humor for tonight. One of the things that I think is important is a lot of the request for people to cut back was in the event that we did have a fire, it would draw down the water supply and make it possibly critically low for people. And taking steps to reduce so that everybody has some water usage is far, far better than having everything cut off because there is no water. So I don't recall seeing anything that said that, but I know I certainly talked about it on social media and a few other people did. At first, there were some sarcastic, snarky comments made, but I want to say that the town communication was prolific on this subject. It was there constantly. All I did was go to the town Facebook page and copy it and into Twitter and share it. And I encouraged other people to do the same. Once people got the message, mostly from EPCOR, that this was a part of their system that broke, all that ugliness kind of went away because there's nothing that we could do. Some people thought in the beginning it was a town of Stony Plain again, and it wasn't. So I was glad that came out, and I want to say that I thought our communications department and all who contributed to that did a really good job getting the word out. The other thing that I saw is that there were a number of people who encouraged others to subscribe to the town news release updates on the town website, which I thought was really good. So maybe we'll see those numbers have gone up the next time they're taken. I know we just got a quarterly report recently, but I thought it was good that people were being told, sign up for this, because that's where you're going to get the most recent information. And overall, I thought it was handled very well. So thank you for that, and I'm glad there were no fires to be fought.
Thank you for those comments, Councillor Hansard. Councillor Loynes?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I just wanted to thank the fire chief for his clarification in what was required of the car washes. I know there was a lot of comments made both by phone and on Facebook and things like that, that there was some concern that they were still allowed to operate, but you again explained that it wasn't that they couldn't, that they took it upon themselves to adjust the way they operated, and clarifying the difference between restriction and reduced use. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Councillor Lawrence. Administration?
Thank you for the opportunity to have a couple words, Mr. Deputy Mayor. I think certainly appreciate the opportunity here. The council questions, council perspective on this, on the interruptions last week. I think the provision of safe water, and whether, the quality and the quantity is fundamental. It's a core service of what we do. I frankly am quite proud of the way the staff conducted themselves last week. We did a lot of good things, but importantly, and given the weight of the importance of water to all of our communities, there's a lot of stuff that we can learn. I know when we talked about standing up the EEC, I believe it's called now, it's not the EOC. Part of it was to ensure that if something got a little more sideways on us, that we were ready for that, but also to get our staff prepared and ready and understand what kind of communication would we put out, what might we get asked. We learned a lot about what we do last week, and I think that those are good learnings, and I am confident that we will, we operated at a pretty high level on this stuff already, but we'll get better because of what happened and what we did last week. So I appreciate the opportunity to be able to walk in a bit of a brief update. Again, don't have all the numbers crunched, don't have all of the reviews done internally, and we will get to those. But Mr. Deputy Mayor, again, just appreciate the opportunity to walk this in and have a bit of a dialogue here with council that certainly the public can be made aware of and will be aware of. So.
Thank you, administration. Sounds like actually sounds like a good little community building opportunity for us all. One where everybody did their part, so that was good to hear. No other comments? Mayor Choi?
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Just from the numbers that are going around and just the questions for understanding, maybe the question to administration is in terms of the amount of water we have in our reservoirs, is 4 days approximately like the norm for most municipalities, or do other municipalities have 5 days or 10 days, or maybe they only have 1 day capacity? Do we have an approximate number?
Through the Deputy Mayor to Your Worship, the short answer is I don't believe that there is a set number of days per se that is set aside in any sort of standards. That's something I could look into, but generally speaking, a town of the size of Stony Plain with 2 reservoirs, looking at with one main connection to the Water Commission plus a future planned connection to the as a secondary fill connection is a very good standard to aim at. Currently, the town's total water supply it's quite healthy for the size that we're currently operating at, with approximately 18,000 residents and the size that we have. So the short answer is right now, from all of our master planning and technical documents, we're within the range of where we should be. Like I said, I'm unaware of there being a certain days allotted. Generally, these as I was mentioning earlier, when emergency situations, the issue has to be evaluated on the merits of what's in front of us when we're evaluating those. As the chief mentioned, when we're taking a look at any additional measures that we have to communicate out to residents and businesses, those are considered as in juxtaposition of the event that we're dealing with. In this case, we were able to communicate with residents what to work with us, as opposed to making hard measures, because we were able to keep good information flowing and decision making. So that's how I would, see the issue with this particular one. Again, everything from a technical perspective, our water is secure and in an appropriate range.
Thank you.
Okay, no more comments or questions? Can we, Councillor Palecho, can I get you to make a motion to accept for information?
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor, that the water system interruption update be accepted for information.
Is there any debate or discussion on the matter? Seeing none, call the question. All in favor? Carried. Next business item, next up is we have the 6.2, the 2023 Environmental Portfolio Progress Update. Administration, you ready?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'm filling in actually for our sustainability planner. He's sick today, but here we go. The 2023 Environmental Portfolio Progress Update. So in terms of the portfolio itself, it contains all the environmental initiatives that are currently planned or underway by the town. Each initiative is listed under either active, inactive, underway, or complete in terms of its status. The report we have here has notable updates for ongoing and completed initiatives as, pardon me here. This probably make a little more sense. So this is the presentation that it is in the agenda, and just on the second slide right now. So the additions, moves, and removals within the portfolio are one of the other things we update annually. Just to give this some context, strategic alignments. So again, we have the environmental vision. We strive to protect, preserve, and enhance natural systems and environmentally significant areas while promoting a greener way of living. And there's a variety of key actions, including to implement and monitor the environmental master plan. So in terms of how this fits in with our hierarchy of policy plans, we do have the municipal development plans, which has environmental responsibility as one of our top 5 themes. And this led to the environmental master plan, which again kind of spells out the vision, themes, and policies specifically for that environmental theme in the MDP. And then the environmental stewardship strategy, or the ESS, contains the goals and the actions, and again is more of the what we're doing kind of working day to day. So the ESS describes 5 themes of the portfolio, including energy, land, air, water, and waste, and categorizes each of the initiatives in the ongoing action plan, external, and beyond the action plan. In terms of some of our notable updates this last year in 2023, we started to establish the Microhabitat Urban Farm. This is a 3-year initiative by which we've hired Microhabitat to set up and operate an urban farm at the town's golf course. You can see here in the picture that there's a series of potted plants, and the urban farmer who runs it plants a variety of different types of herbs, vegetables, and other plants to, and then they're harvested and given over to the Parkland Food Bank as they're harvested. Along with that, we also have 2 different community initiatives that are events that are done through that. The other 2 we have listed on this site here are the extended producer responsibility. This one here is actually a provincial initiative or an external one for us. Just late last year, there was an organization formed to start to look at having manufacturers specifically pay for waste as opposed to the municipality directly. Right now, they're kind of in the exploratory phase, so they're just looking at numbers and kind of understanding how each municipality currently undertakes their own waste collection. With the intention, again, to move some of those costs and capacity over to this provincial body that would put that burden of those costs onto the manufacturer as opposed to the town right now. The last one is a picture there of our 2 new electric vehicles that were purchased last year using some grant funding we received. In terms of these 3, at Rotary Park, there's solar, and if you notice here in different fonts, slight update to the slide. I believe the report was correctly noted this. There's solar and LED lights. So there's 10 different lights that were repurposed from street lights along Main Street formerly, and I believe the entrance sign has 2 solar lights. So again, the LED are the 10 lights that were repurposed from Main Street, whereas the solar lighting is just the 2 lights that are on the sign when you go into Rotary Park. In terms of the tire recycling, I believe the number was upwards of about 700 tires were recycled this year. It was a new initiative that we just piloted, so I think 700 is a pretty good uptake in its first year. In terms of the recreation center and public works building design, energy efficient, kind of solar ready. In terms of the new the rec facility is being designed for solar itself, to have solar panels as part of that design, whereas the public works building is just called solar ready. So it's been designed to accept that, but does not have any right now in the plans. So again, kind of for the ongoing initiatives, and again, these are initiatives that we do year to year, as opposed to, say, the action plan ones that they might go over multiple years, but they kind of have a start date and an end date. As mentioned earlier, under energy, again, those 10 LED and 2 solar lights installed at Rotary Park. Under the land, we had 27 trees planted as part of the Arbor Day at Oatway Park, and some of the urban garden we're working on falls into that land and theme. In terms of the air, the peace officers responded to 3 idling files, and the Stony Plain Fire Department responded to 35 wildfire calls last year. Just to round out all the themes, for water, again, we note that the groundwater from dewatering your wells is used at times for to fill these skating rinks. And in terms of the waste, last year we achieved a 50% diversion rate with weekly collection. And we continue to do the piloted electronic waste program at the Rotary Recycling Center. One typo or incorrect statement was the 1,132 volunteers for Pitchin' Week. More correctly or accurately, it was 483, and there were 3 schools that were also volunteered that we don't have the exact numbers for. In terms of the highlights of our actual action plan, initiatives that were just underway and started, again, was the urban garden. We're also exploring new water meters as part of a water initiative. In terms of the energy saving for municipal buildings noted here, we had an energy audit done by our energy manager in the last couple of years, and some of the retrofits from fluorescent lights to LEDs, those are actually taking place right now. I believe there's about 40 of those. Again, noting the purchase of the electric vehicles was something we just started, and if you jump over here to the end, we also purchased them, so those have been completed. In terms of the 3 underway, exploring solar infrastructures related again to the rec facility and the public works building. The green space plan is some work that we've started, specifically the parks and open space guidelines in the completed is kind of one of those first steps that we brought to council sometime last year. I think it was in the spring or summer. And again, it's working towards actually finishing the green space plan. And then the last one there is the agricultural master plan implementation. This is kind of 2 parts. We had to provide the MRB, or the Edmonton Metropolitan Region Board, with a regional context statement in terms of what updates we were required for the municipal development plan. The reason why it's ongoing is we actually have to make those changes. So expect later this year an administrative brought MDP, or municipal development plan update, that would incorporate some of those changes required by the Edmonton Metropolitan Region Board. Just kind of rounding it out. So again, there were 3 additions, 1 move and no removals. Urban agriculture, purchase of electric vehicles, extended responsibility, and then the regional agricultural master plan implementation. Just going to the next slide here. If you notice, for the ongoing, that's where we have the urban agriculture. Given that we have things like the urban garden going on, those are going to be ongoing initiatives as we implement the the urban agricultural plan. As we implement those, it's going to be an ongoing thing that we're going to continue to do. So we've moved that into the actual ongoing initiative category, not the ongoing. Let's go back here to make a little more sense. So the regional agricultural master plan implementation, as I said, is going to be concluded. So we've moved this into the action plan because the action plan initiatives do get concluded. Whereas urban agriculture is an ongoing thing we're going to continue to do, which is why it's moving as an ongoing initiative, as depicted here. The extended producer responsibility is the external initiative noted. And the purchase of electric vehicles was a new initiative added to the action plan, which brings us to a total of 61 different initiatives that the town is either pursuing or is intending to pursue. That there concludes my presentation, noting that the next steps are council acceptance, if given today, and then we will continue to implement and report on the environmental portfolio into the future. Thank you. Any questions or comments are welcome. Thanks.
Thank you, administration, for the presentation. Council, the floor is open for clarity and questions of understanding. Mayor Choi.
Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Deputy Mayor. Just a little question regarding the trial or the new project of the tire recycling. So in terms of tire recycling, it was mentioned that there was 760 tires that was recycled to that program. Were those tires that included rims or no rims?
Through the deputy mayor to the mayor, I'm not 100% sure on that. From what I've seen in the pictures, it seems to be without rims, but I would look for it to be proven wrong on that.
Okay, thank you, and I just appreciate some, just kind of better understanding that if it's just the tires itself, and if there's like a scrap metal recycling where we can put the rims in and stuff, so I'm not too sure if that's another initiative that we can start. It was the scrap metal.
Administration, do you have any comment?
Through Deputy Mayor to Your Worship, not expressly, the short answer is the purpose of the tire recycling is not to create scrap metal. I know that the staff have been exploring additional services within the area, which could include a metal drop-off. It's something I could follow up and be sure about with the tire recycling. Ultimately, if I believe the premise of the town of the town's program there is to just recycle the rubber with partners. So any additional metal that would maybe dropped off would have to be sorted either after it's been with the end user, with the recycler, or and not likely with town staff doing it.
Any further questions? Councillor Loynes?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Just in regards to the tires, you had mentioned this is a pilot project. How long do you intend for this pilot project to go before you decide if it is something we want to continue?
Through Deputy Mayor to Councillor Loynes, that's something we'd have to get back to you on. Again, one of the, I guess, challenges we do when we coordinate this report is we're not necessarily the expert on all these little nuances. We collect all the data. Again, a lot of these are really good feedback. So again, that's something we can check in and report back on in terms of, what further changes in status and the duration of the pilot would be.
And then just to follow up, and might need a follow-up on this one as well, was 760 tires an expected amount, or was it an over and abundance from what we were projecting? And I understand if you have to get back to me on that one too.
Through you, Deputy Mayor, to Councillor Loynes, that would be the case in this as well. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Loynes. Councillor Plechko?
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor. Great report. As I read through it, it was mentioned a number of times the purchase of our electric vehicles, and I've had a number of calls regarding electric vehicles. What is the purpose of the electrical vehicles that we have that are cars that we would use for within our community?
Through Deputy Mayor to Councillor Plechko. Well, the purpose of the cars are to offset greenhouse gases in terms of using just standard gasoline vehicles or diesel vehicles within the town. Again, these are for general staff to utilize when traveling. I believe one is kind of assigned specifically to Public Works and kind of the management within that group. Again, so they're kind of allocated at large or specifically for staff to do travel. And again, the purpose again would be to offset greenhouse gases. Again, noting Alberta does have some of its electricity produced by that, but there's some that is not produced using, say, natural gas and renewable resources. So again, there's some offset there, but again, different provinces might have a little bit of a different advantage.
Appreciate the answer. Thank you.
Actually, if I could just jump in on the electric vehicle question, I'm, I guess through me. In regards to the electric vehicle, are we collecting any stats in regards to kilometers traveled? How much have we offset with these vehicles? And I'm also, I'm just curious if, because I'm personally skeptical. I think that they face challenges in cold weather, challenges in regards to where they can charge and the like. So I'm curious if we are collecting any stats in regards to if this is a successful purchase, if it fits in our system, and is it actually achieving what we think we want to be doing?
Through Deputy Mayor, thank you for the question. So the short answer is there are some stats that are collected regarding total use in kilometers. We do that with all of our vehicles in town. One interesting note with the electric vehicles is generally we collect that information when we're doing fuel ups. So with respect to the electric vehicles, there is the staff do review the usage and see how we're using it. One note that wasn't present in the presentation is well, the town does have there's two parts to these vehicles coming in. One part is there was a natural life cycle replacement with the hybrid that the town has been operating for a number of years, and there was the addition of utilizing a grant in order to help us secure these vehicles as well. So it was able to be a two-pronged approach to address to those two issues. With respect to the overall environmental footprint, ultimately, there is when there is a grant available and it fits within some of the conditions outlined within our environmental master plans or stewardship plans, we work to take advantage of those as much as we can. So this is a vehicle that these vehicles can be used to by staff for town business to avoid using additional fuel, using electricity. So it's certainly something we're going to be watching into the future of how successful these vehicles are for any further deployment with the use of maybe considerations in the future. The opportunity here was to see how we could best utilize these types of vehicles for our town business.
Thank you for the response. Councillor Hansard, I believe you had a question.
More a comment, I guess. Deputy Mayor, I just wanted to say that I was actually very pleased with the number of tires that were collected. I believe it was over a period of only 5 months. So if you extrapolated that into a full year, I think that's a significant number for a first time project, just to see what the interest is. Our neighbor to the east has for a long time been taking tires at no charge to the public. They have a few more rules around how theirs are to be stacked and that kind of thing and where they can be put. But I have personally had family members, myself and my daughter and my son, taken tires to Spruce Grove. So I'm glad we're providing that opportunity here in the town of Stony Plain. It's a way that our people can see that we don't put these in the landfill. We do abide by the guidelines. They're supposed to be turned back in for recycling, and but I know that there are some that are not handled properly. So the fact that we give a place for them to be placed, I think is really important. And I expect for that to grow significantly over the next year or two. So I hope our trial goes long enough to see some of that growth. Overall, I was impressed with the report. This is part of the educational process that tells our people, our residents, why we do these things and why it's important. And I maintain, as many of you have heard me say, we need to do a re-education on recycling and that, because we have many residents here now who were not here when we began some of these initiatives years ago. So I think if we could move in the direction of putting out more information, make it a fun campaign like we've done in the past, it would be a good thing for our residents to see. And I'm very proud of the town of Stony Plain for taking the initiative in all these areas. Some would say only 61 initiatives, but I say 61 initiatives we've tackled. I just think that's wonderful. So thank you for the report.
Thank you, Councillor Hansard, for the comments. Councillor Laurie.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Question through you to administration. In respect to the water profile, looking on page 28, it talks about some of the initiatives that we have, and the supported goal is reducing stormwater runoff. We know one of the things we hear often about is the stormwater charge on our utility bills that both our residents and our businesses face. If we have residents and businesses that are working to reduce the amount of stormwater runoff that comes off of their property, whether it's by collection and retention, whether it's by, creative reuse, et cetera, of the rainwater, similar to like we do at the Heritage Park Pavilion, are we willing to look, or have we considered looking at any type of a program in where residents would be able to receive a reduction in their stormwater fee if they were actually helping us achieve the goal of reducing the stormwater runoff?
Through Deputy Mayor and to Councillor Laurie, I'm not aware of us of that particular thing being explored at this time. Generally, looking to my colleague from Corporate Services, I believe that the stormwater rate assumes a certain amount of water being generally being drained from residential properties, and that's generally how the tax rate works. From a programming perspective, a lot of these programs as well are funding major drainage programs such as the flood mitigation, and those are certainly other areas where we always look for grants and attempt to make sure that we're reducing the amount that we really need to go to the utility rate in order to execute those programs. So the short answer is, as far as I'm aware, no, that's not something that's being considered at this time.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I'll just follow up on that. I mean, sometimes one of the easiest ways to incentivize people is by helping them save money. And so I think as we continue to look at these goals going forward and some of our environmental goals going forward, I think there's a good opportunity to start taking a look at that. I'm starting to read articles and reports on municipalities that are using weigh scales on their garbage collections. And so they're now charging by weight in respect to their garbage collection. So encouraging residents to increase their organics and their recycling by having their bill tied to how much garbage they actually produce. So similar when I'm thinking about the water, I mean, we're doing things like supporting the tri-municipal rain barrel sale where we're offering a rebate on the rain barrels. Again, looking at those incentives, if people aren't happy with the charges that are coming based on the usage, well, how can we help people be creative with their usage and start keeping some dollars in their pockets as well? So just some food for thought as we continue to look at these initiatives going forward.
Thank you, Councillor Laurie. Mayor Choi.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Just a couple questions regarding the purchase of electric vehicles. I mentioned that there was a grant, so I'm just trying to clear up if it was a 100% cost recovery of that grant, or was there a percentage that the town had to put into this?
Through Deputy Mayor to the Mayor, I don't have the specifics of the numbers, or if it was, as you said, a percentage-based or just an absolute amount. I believe it was in the ballpark of about $5,000 for one grant. There was two different grants that were applied for. I believe one was about $12,000 and one was $5,000, and that was per vehicle. So I believe the overall offset was about $30,000 amongst the two cars, but I'm not familiar if it was based on a percentage or it was just an absolute value.
Your Worship, or sorry, Mr. Deputy Mayor, through to Your Worship on that particular question. We will find the particulars of that and get them specifically to Council.
Okay, thank you. And just my follow-up question to that as well, because we're talking about the hybrid. I remember when the town first purchased the hybrid about 15 years ago, and it's mentioned that we're going to replace it. So what are we doing with the old Ford hybrid?
Through Deputy Mayor, to your worship. At this time, it's my understanding it's currently still with the town. It will follow our fleet, I guess, our fleet procedures for next steps. That could mean, I know it has to be assessed by our mechanics whether we're going to continue to maintain it or if we will take next steps through decommissioning it. Now, I don't know what that may entail. Depends on what staff come out with. As far as I'm aware, though, we still have the hybrid. However, I would expect that there's going to be some next steps with the hybrid now that we have these vehicles.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Councillor Anderson?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I appreciate the opportunity to ask a couple of questions. I saw something today I never expected. My mic said it was going to go to sleep because I hadn't spoken yet. And so I guess I needed to jump in. Two questions this evening. The first, we've had some ongoing discussion over the last couple of years related to waste collection options specific to bin size. Some residents looking for something smaller, feeling like the larger bin is too much for them, and then some residents may be looking for something a little bit more. I know this year, just based on the schedule, I think, and the way the service levels were, there was a doubled up waste collection shortly after Christmas, which I know a lot of people appreciated with the extra Christmas waste that can be generated. So just wondering if we have an update on waste collection options for residents.
Through your worship, or through you, Deputy Mayor, pardon me, to Councillor Anderson. Staff are currently considering those options and plan to bring those to council there and later this year, discussing some next steps and as a solid waste update in general.
Perfect, thank you for that. My second question is related to textile recycling. And if I've missed it, I apologize, but I didn't see anything specific to textiles in our report this evening. But just a quick look through some news articles this week. Textiles have been reported to be one of the fastest growing waste streams in the world. And I think part of that is the cost of manufacturing going down and different, fashion trends and those sorts of things. I've read that, we're buying 3 times as many clothes today as maybe people were 20 years ago, which is sounds like a significant number. So please don't fact check that. Maybe it is 2.5 times, but, significantly more, than in previous years. One of the sort of conversation streams that I often see on social media or get asked by residents is around where they can donate used clothing and those sorts of things. And I'm just wondering if there's a role for the town to play here. I don't know what that might look like, whether it's a clothing collection bin alongside our rotary recycling facilities or some education and awareness for the public around which organizations in our municipality do accept and repurpose textiles, specifically clothing and that sort of thing. But just looking to administration, maybe some comments on opportunities for us as a municipality specific to textile recycling.
Through your Deputy Mayor to Councillor Anderson, thank you for the question. With respect to textiles as a whole, I was just looking at our manager of planning here. I don't believe textiles is something that we actively collect or use clothing. I do know that there are a number of collection centers through a number of agencies and organizations outside the town that do accept clothing donations if someone has clean and available donations for those organizations. I don't have a list off the top of my head. Those are generally where we would suggest people start. In terms of the broader textile recycling, currently I know that's a bigger conversation beyond just the town. I know at a national, international level how that is managed from industrial level. Certainly, if those conversations start to come into the more municipal streams of how we're doing that, those are things that our staff pick up on and work regionally with each other. I don't believe at this time that's something that has percolated into those discussions at this time. However, if someone does have any of those questions, they can certainly call our Public Works Department or contacting those organizations if they can do any goodwill donations, so to speak.
Yeah, thank you for that. And if I may, Deputy Mayor, I certainly appreciate and I think, follow the explanation that we've received here this evening. And I don't believe that we're active in this, on the textile side of things. I think, one of the questions that I do have is if there is a space for us. And what I mean by that is not necessarily that we would be active in that, but, there's an initiative called, I think it's Think Thrice or something to that effect. And it's this idea that we reduce, repair, reuse. There's different municipalities that promote this idea of reduce, repair, reuse clothing and put out a reuse sort of donation list of places in the community that do accept the clothing donation. So again, not suggesting that we take that on, but I know Councillor Hansard has spoken a couple of times about education around our environmental initiatives, ensuring our residents are aware of what goes where and what that looks like and those sorts of things. And I guess I see a piece here that could be a part of future education for residents that really promotes some of the service agencies in our community that are doing this work, repurposing it, ensuring that families have what they need in terms of clothing and that sort of thing. So again, not necessarily looking for the town to get into the collection of that, but potentially the promotion of it through some of our education streams to support our local organizations that work in that space.
Thank you, Councillor Anderson. Yes, great points. Certainly a role for the town to take some education opportunities there. Councillor Palechko?
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor. Just one further question regarding the electric vehicles. I know a while ago during budget time, we were asked to bring charging stations to our community, a few of them. And I'm wondering, through that process, Council chose not to bring them at this time, yet we chose to bring electric vehicles. Have we had to put in a charging station at any of the offices here in town to specially charge these vehicles? And if so, is that open to the public?
Through Deputy Mayor to Councillor Palechko, no, the town is currently utilizing the provided chargers by the manufacturer to charge them. They are not fast chargers. So currently there is no site in town that has such capabilities. So at this time we're generally defaulting to the provided chargers by the manufacturer. Should we need to, if for whatever reason we needed to access fast charging, we would search for those in our local region and go utilize them. But operationally, the default is to use the provided chargers.
Thank you.
Mayor Choi?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Just kind of piggyback on what Councillor Anderson was asking and commenting in terms of textile recycling. Just wondering if the General Manager of Community and Social Development has any comment on that. I think that department within Town Stony Plain does a lot of those kind of pulling together different resources and different organizations that are providing services in the community. I'm just wondering if that's something that CSD has looked at, and if so, if it's readily available so that I can share with council so that we can share that with our residents.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Through you to Mayor Choi and the rest of council. We do provide information when people telephone our office asking for places that they can recycle things. We tend to provide information on the thrift stores locally, and some of the other community partners that we know use their proceeds as a social enterprise to donate back to the community. We could do some further exploration and provide an update in more depth later.
Thank you. Thank you. Are there any other questions, comments? Okay, I'll just take an opportunity here. I just would like to look at the microhabitat initiative a little bit closer. I know it's an ongoing project, so I suspect that is something that we hope to build on from year to year. I'm just curious if there's a chart, what the charge would be for the service.
Through Deputy Mayor to all of council, I believe it's about $15,000 per year is about what the rate is for the 4 months, about 6-7 months for them to operate it. That's maintenance, coming out, planting, seeds, all inclusive. And as part of that, there's 2 different public events that we have the opportunity to host within the community.
Just to follow up on that, in regards to the 2 public events, is that on our communications to promote? Do we do that in partnership with the Microhabitat? Or I'm sorry, I forget the name of the...
Microhabitat is correct. And we do promote it using the town's social media. We do. We use the town's social media to promote it.
And sorry, is the business itself involved in that? Do they have any promotion capabilities?
I'd have to get back on to you if they do. I believe they do provide some of the basic information, and then we work with them to come up with the advertisement, or the notice information. But ultimately, we do promote it using the town's social media. And again, there's some additional stuff that we do in-house just for different signs and advertisement, that sort of thing for it.
Okay, and just sort of continuing along that, now I'm not suggesting that the food that is produced from it that goes to the Parkland Food Bank is going to offset the $15,000, nor do I think that's the point of this project. But in the video that was embedded in our, that was available, it did mention that they were expecting 300 to 400 pounds of produce. I'm just curious if we're collecting any stats on that.
I believe we're trying to, I guess I would say. It's a little bit difficult to measure what the total overall amount is every single week. Again, it's not something that they just harvest, say, once or twice a year. It is something they're harvesting every week. It is something I know that we have been in talk with them to get more statistics on, but it's not something I believe they've done typically in their past pilots or other examples of this sort of an arrangement. So we are working towards that, and it is something I know I myself have asked them about, and there's been some difficulties with the operations going forward, so we'll work on that.
Okay, sorry, and I have another concern in regards to that. I'm curious if the urban farmer that is hired, once again, watching the video, it mentions that they come out and doing a little background search on the company. They're urban-based, Edmonton being one of their expanding markets. So I'm curious if we are having an urban farmer drive out from the city to farm our baskets here in Stony Plain, and just sort of the irony of buying electric vehicles to offset carbon, while at the same time another initiative may sort of be undoing the good work that we do or are trying to do.
Through Deputy Mayor to all of council, I'm not sure where the urban farmer lives. My understanding, actually, there's going to be a new urban farmer next year, so I don't know if they necessarily check where they live. But I guess given they have properties in the Edmonton greater area, I'm imagining they don't have one farmer per municipality or something to that effect. So I can't really say where they come from, but they do come once a week. I do know that. So I don't know if it's too much driving, but it's a challenge for me to give more details than that on the individual himself.
Well, thank you very much for that, administration. And I hope if it is an ongoing program that we do have some more, we look closer at what we're doing there, make sure that we're doing what we think we're doing. If there's any, Mayor Choi?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Just in terms of what you raised in terms of the little micro gardens there, and I just wanted to ask that question, if the current community groups in our community that do community gardens, such as APFA, the Red Brick Common, which also has the Master Garden program, were they consulted in doing the micro micro-study so that we can maybe like expand that further. If we're bringing them in, are we engaging these partners to do along with us so we can maximize the impact?
Through the deputy mayor to the mayor, specifically, no. We haven't engaged anyone directly for this. This was an instance where we had an opportunity by which we heard about this through some promotional information. We looked at it and said it kind of matched some of the stuff we've been doing with the urban farming. We sort of wanted to take an initiative, a little bit of a unique situation. We looked kind of on the western side. There wasn't a lot of municipalities doing this, and figured we had the opportunity to take really a leap here to have a micro-habitat urban garden and try to test it out for a couple of years. So again, this is really a pilot, I would say, both for municipality, especially in Western Canada. I know a lot of their work is kind of more focused on the eastern side of town. But again, that's not specifically with our local. Again, it's an area that we could look into. But again, this was something that we wanted to kind of have our own initiative as an outcome of that urban agricultural strategy.
Sorry, if there's any other comments or questions, not seeing any, Councillor Laurie, if you could make the motion, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Mayor. I'll move that the 2023 Environmental Portfolio Progress Update be accepted for information.
Any debate? Seeing none, call the question. All in favor? And that's carried. Moving on to council discussion. We ended with Councillor Laurie. We'll move to Councillor Loynes.
Nothing for me this evening.
Mayor Choi.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Just wanted to give a shout out to Old Stony Plain Physiotherapy. Just had the grand opening today. Again, those are local business owners that have purchased the building in town on 4813 50th Avenue, and they've started and refabbed a existing building that was in the town of Stony Plain, and then now they have a physiotherapy business going on there. So, congratulations to them. And I'd also like to just highlight this Saturday, a few of members of council will be attending the Winter Bloom, which is in support of the Spruce Grove and District Ag Society, where they're raising dollars to paint, repair, and maintain the grain elevator that's in Spruce Grove, as it's one of about 100 grain elevators that left on this prairie province. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Choi. Councillor Anderson.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Just want to extend gratitude this evening to the General Manager of Planning and Infrastructure, Mr. Newstead, and his team over at Public Works. I think, we appreciate everything that Public Works does, but we don't always see the breadth of the work that's done over there with the water conservation efforts and some of the issues with the EPCOR plant this week. Really brings to the forefront how important clean water is for our community, and having that readily available. And then just as that was worked out, all of a sudden we have a big dump of snow, and the Public Works team are now out doing streets and those sorts of things. And so you keep us moving. Your team does some amazing work to keep our community watered, if you will, and safe and moving on the roads and our parks and so on. We could go on to all the different areas that you touch, but just want to express from myself and our community at large gratitude for the work that your team does to keep us going year round.
Thank you, Councillor Anderson. Councillor Laurie.
Nothing this evening, thank you.
Councillor Plechko.
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor. I just want to acknowledge our IT team. They seem to get forgot quite often within our process here. We have great reliance on what you do for our department, for our town, for our community, for us as councillors, and we often forget that they're part of what we do on a daily basis. So just a special thank you to all the IT team that here at the town of Stony Plain.
Thank you, Councillor Plechko. Councillor Hansard, you get the
I don't
spot.
get final word, you do, Mr. Deputy Mayor. I wanted to say that I'm really glad to hear shout-outs from council to various departments, and I hope that continues throughout this year, 2024, because whatever we do, wherever we go, I think generally we look pretty darn good as a council, but a whole lot of that is because all this wonderful staff and leadership at the town offices is making it possible for council to do their job and do it well. Coldest night of the year is coming up on February 24th. I have not yet signed up to be on a team. I didn't see any promotion if there was anybody going to be part of this. Am I got the right month? I hope I have the right month. Yeah, it's February 24th, and I believe this year it's going to be held at Jubilee Park. So for anybody that's watching and is not yet part of a team to support the efforts of the Parkland Food Bank, which feeds so many, helps so many families in our tri-region, you can certainly take part in that. And I just wanted to point out that we have that event coming up. I was grateful for a wonderful, warm February, although I know that is signaling something else that maybe we're not the happiest about. But I must say I got to go out and walk all over the place in the month of February, and I cannot remember the last time I did that without worry about falling on the ice. So it brought back memories of my years growing up in Texas, Mississippi, Georgia, Florida, California as a military child, and I didn't have to worry about snow most of those places. So, Mr. Deputy Mayor, you did a good job chairing the meeting tonight. I did not see any reprimanding looks from the mayor, so you did a really good job. When I sit there, I get those looks. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Hansard. I was worried, I was looking over, but I didn't see any bad looks either. So I do get the last word, and I'm always the one with short words. So I would just like to say, Councillor Anderson, it's a pleasure having you on. I think your sentiments of gratitude seem to be catching on. It's a great thing. You weren't even complimenting me, and I was sitting there smiling, going, I'm so glad this guy's on our team. So anyhow, lay that one on thick. I'll think of something nice to say to everyone else later. Administration, thank you guys. Just like Councillor Anderson said, you guys did a phenomenal job through this EPCOR challenging week or so. So hats off to you guys. And with that, Mayor Choi, I got to hand it back to you so you can close this out. Oh, wait. I get to say that there's no in-camera closed discussion. Now I can hand it back to you.
Okay. Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and great job. As mentioned earlier, this is why we're changing our growth, governance and priorities meetings, is to allow the Deputy Mayor the opportunity to chair, which allows me to provide some mentorship, and it provides the opportunity for all of us council to become stronger. Allows each member of us the ability to chair a meeting here, but also gives us the confidence when we go into other situations to be able to handle the room and understand what's going on. So again, I think this is a good process for us going forward. And as Deputy Mayor, you were my first guinea pig so far. You've done exceptionally well. Hopefully you set the bar really high so that everybody has to set it higher for the next person. With that, we're adjourned.